Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. All right. Welcome to the Tuesday morning POMcast. First day of spring practice right here today. It's finally here. Hallelujah. And pass the Tylenol. Basically, we have a lot of stuff to get to today. Women's basketball advanced to the semifinals of the NIT, women's NIT, last night with a 9-point win over Colorado. We're going to get into a little bit of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the weather coming up for the Alabama series. They're looking like a 100% chance of rain come Thursday and a chance of rain come Sunday. And then they could probably get 2 in on Friday or whatever. You know what I mean. Rain on Thursday, rain on Saturday, probably get 2 in on Friday. The 3-game series starting on Thursday kind of threw me off. And we're going to basically talk a little bit about the first day of spring practice. No, we did a prospectus yesterday kind of going into spring practice. But, you know, we're really going to dive into the quarterback position potentially today with Matt Corral and Luke Altmaier and Kincaid Dent and those guys playing the quarterback position. It is the most important position in sports, and we are blessed to have a good setup on that side of the ball. So that is what we're looking like currently. And there we go. Sorry about the audio sync issue yesterday. We tried something to record and stream simultaneously. That was put a little bit too much of a drag on the hardware. So we're trying to figure out how to get that audio recording out for the people's podcast needs. If you're listening on a podcast, that means we figured it out. So congrats. But if not, we're going to get there. We're going. Our timeline for video was to be a somewhat finished product by the end of April. We're still in March. So this thing is going to grow periodically over the next month, even in the video side. And then for the podcast, we want everything to be clicking in time for football season, which technically means first part of August is the goal for that one. Those are the 2 benchmark goals. And we're doing pretty well with that. I want to thank everybody. I mean, our viewership in the last month has gone up about 1,000%. That's pretty fantastic. And if another jump similar to that one would put us in the top listener or viewership of all Ole Miss related content on the internet. So that is pretty cool. So thank you very much. We need to keep it on. Tell your friends, share it. Whenever you're looking at the tweet come across, hit retweet, hit share on Facebook, share it on YouTube. Please get the video out there and what we're doing out there, and it kind of expand our reach. So thank you very much. Of course, you can see us all on Twitter and with our partner on the Rebel Walk. They provide unbelievable free content on Ole Miss sports. If you haven't checked it out, check it out at therebelwalk.com. They're going to hit from all angles, and they're going to do all aspects of that, and they're going to bring over into the video side onto this channel. Next week, Leanne Herring is going to come do a recruiting show with us and talk a little bit about recruiting, something that we hope becomes a quite regular thing. You've already seen our instant reactions for basketball and for baseball. That's only going to expand. I expect an instant reaction this fall for football as well. We're going to do, different type shows that you can enjoy. We want to cover Ole Miss sports from all aspects. We're thinking about doing a women's sports show just for 3-4 minutes on a Monday or so. Just give you an update of the weekend of what the women did athletically as well, and give them a little bit of a platform. So that is our long-range intro for that. I will tell you, though, that you can catch us on Twitter at The Rebel Walk or at The Stephen Willis. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast. You can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Go in there and hit the bell. When we're streaming, it'll give you an alert. You can tell exactly what we're streaming. It's for your benefit. Do that. It doesn't take hardly any time. And of course, we are on Twitch as well at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. And if you want to see both, we're right now for our total package. Eventually, will be at Willis Digital Media, available on YouTube and Twitch. So we're a little bit everywhere. If we make the podcasting thing work, we're gonna try and dig in. I've got an idea from my wife of how to fix the podcast. So we're going to get into that today as well. If you can hear this, hey, it worked. If not, I am sorry. But you can catch us on the video links at your leisure. Basically the same place we've been for the last month, pretty consistently. So, Ole Miss defeated Colorado in Memphis at Collierville High School. Basically, they won by 9. And, let's see. They won by 9. And, at the end of the game, they were able to pull it out through stellar defensive play. Their shot really wasn't falling in the second half, but they were able to ice the game away, as you can see right here on the screen. And as they,
it's not really without Coach O. Coach O has poured into this program and every individual in here, and we follow her leadership and her guide. She sets the standard, and we uphold the standard. So she's here with us. She's still the leader. The general just wasn't in the field with us. But the general still sets the tone. She sets the standard, and we follow the standard. And fans showed up. The gym was rocking all 3 games. And it was cool because it was the first time that, we've had some fans, but it was cool because here the fans are closer to the court. It's a high school gym. So it actually felt like it was probably 500 people in here, 1,000 people in here. So we appreciate the fans and the support. The chancellor and the AD were here, and the love that was shown over the last 3 games is absolutely appreciated.
Yes, Coach Jojo will be back for the next game against Northern Iowa. Come a couple of, it was that Friday, I believe. But Coach Yo will be back for that. If you need a little bit, if you look at Twitter and the tweet and everything, the absence of Coach Yo and everything, the way she was talked about by her team and how they essentially didn't want to let her down even though she wasn't there. It shows the level of coach that we are lucky enough to have on the sideline in women's basketball. And I'm so impressed, just so impressed about the trajectory of this program. Now, I'm not talking about a team. There's a difference between a team and a program. This team will be known as going to the NIT, where they go to the semifinals or the finals, or win the whole thing. They're going to be known as that. This team will be known as that. This program will be known as taking a major step this year. Last year, I don't know if they won an SEC game. They might have won one. This year, they are in the women's NIT. If they go to the NCAA next year, the trajectory is just straight up. It is straight up. It's a hockey stick at this point. So you can see what can be bought from this team, basically. This is definitely a buy in women's basketball, and they are very high energy. And all they need is a couple of outside shooters, and you can see that they could be very special next year. But it's all going to come down to the outside shooting ability of the team. They struggle outside the arc. The men's team struggled outside the arc. I think maybe this year is just an Ole Miss thing. But if they can make it a little bit more competitive where defenses have to stretch out a little bit more, both the men's and the women's team will benefit from that. We got also a commit in men's basketball. I was going to basically do all that, but I ran out of time. So I'm going to look up his name right here, basically. Let's see. He was committed to Louisville, and that didn't work. Just a second. We'll do it this way. It's like Eric Vanderheiden. That's a nice Dutch name, by the way. 6'9" power forward, fairly athletic guy. I was going to put his highlights up. I'll do that tomorrow. I just ran out of time today. I apologize for that. But we're going to do his highlights tomorrow, and you'll be able to see that he's a fairly athletic big. He's a guy that you can easily see at the top of the 1-3-1, the KJ Buffin replacement. He kind of fits that mold. But a commit for the men's basketball team for the class of 2021. So this will be the James White, Deshaun Ruffin, and Grant Slatton class. So you can see the progression as this team retools its roster for the offseason. COVID just derailed this team. If it wasn't for COVID, this team would be in the tournament. I mean, the late start and everything. There's the big impact players that need to come in. You can see with all of college football, the one-and-done programs struggled this year, and it was because of COVID. So if you want advice on who's going to win it all this year in the NCAA tournament, it's going to be somebody that has continuity, and a lot of it. And that's going to be the secret to this year. It might be a year where, like Gonzaga goes undefeated. I mean, the 4 games away, they're tough. They're tough out. They just really are. And we've been watching the NCAA tournament and everything, all the upsets. I think the SEC has 2 teams left in. The Pac-12 has 4. The lone for the Big Ten is Michigan. And Michigan getting 9 teams in, it just feels like home cooking. Now, if Ole Miss would have gotten in, you would have probably ended up with Devontae Shuler at the game. And you would have had KJ Buffin still playing, and the team would have looked like it normally did. And it was probably set up for a big game to be played, and big performance. I expected it to look just like the LSU game. But we all know it didn't happen. They let 9 teams, including a 15-12 Michigan State team, into the tournament over Ole Miss, and that, okay, that's fine. You can let in who you want to let in. But the Big Ten has been exposed for really what they are. 9 teams in, 1 team to the Sweet 16. You get over an eighth of the tournament, and 1 team's in the Sweet 16. Including 2 seeds, multiple 2s and a couple. The only one made it. Michigan made it. And they struggled mightily with LSU. LSU just had trouble with hitting some shots in the second half, and Michigan kind of wore them down. Juwan Howard's done a heck of a job with the Wolverines, by the way. But the Big Ten itself is in a position to where, I don't want to say overrated, but they got overly the benefit of the doubt. And that's probably because their major markets are in New York and Cleveland and Cincinnati and Indianapolis and Chicago. I mean, all the main cities up there in the Rust Belt. Pennsylvania hitting Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. I mean, you're hitting all the major, and the NCAA just wanted eyeballs for this tournament that they could predict, so they let the Big Ten kind of get in. And I imagine if you go back and just dissect the bids itself, you would see that it's predominantly probably for regions that with eyeballs, like places like Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Southern Miss. That would be a hard time for them to get in this, because if your record isn't overwhelming, tie goes to the eyeballs, which we kind of assume would happen. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about spring football and the quarterback position. I mean, I'm excited about it. We've already done our spring perspectives, but I can talk for hours about this. So, either way, stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I am Stephen Willis. I want to thank you all for joining us. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, hit the Rebel Walk for all free content that you can basically take on. If you're a super fan, if you're an Ole Miss fan, that is the place to go. They kind of hit the term, just like me, positively Ole Miss. Because there's no sense in just doing all that angst-ridden anxiousness of the subscriber model that is actually just choking the life out of college sports currently. So if you're tired of that, if you're tired of the way things are covered, you can hit the Rebel Walk for all your needs. So I was sitting here thinking, and I know that probably is a dangerous move, but why am I so fixated on basically spring practice? Because I've told y'all many times, it's not about 11 on 11 when it comes to spring practice. It's about the individual. It's about the development. Now, you need to learn how to probably play within the scheme. You probably need to learn how to do the things that need to be done. But when it comes to actual playing, it's not about the 11 on 11. It's about the individual. And so we started looking at the quarterback position because that intrigues me. That really intrigues me. Because we have so much talent there as it is. And just with a little bit of development, a little bit of, seasoning on the position, and you can see Matt really is going to be able to take off. I mean, he had 13 interceptions in 2 games, and like 2 or 3 the rest of the year through 11. So if we can take that 13 and just cut it in half, if you just cut it in half, we win the Arkansas game, win the LSU game. I mean, even as bad as it was, Ole Miss had the ball against Arkansas with a 4-point game. Even against LSU, as bad as it was, Ole Miss had the lead in the fourth quarter. You can see where those interceptions turn the game. Now, I'm not blaming it on the kid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in the future, a game similar to that, and with our offense, just cut those in half. Have your disaster games 3 interceptions instead of 6. You do that, that's probably 2 more wins in the book. The difference between Ole Miss going, let's see, what'd they go last year? 4-5, and they ended up 5-5. 4-5 and 6-4, or 6-3, are those 2 games. You think a 6-3 Lane Kiffin Ole Miss team would have looked a little bit different going into bowl week? Now, we got a ton of momentum off that game. That was a fantastic game. It was everything we could have wanted. But it would have looked a little different. It would have been a little different. So that is what Matt Corral needs to work on in the spring this year. Is basically getting the repetitions of knowing when to take the shot and knowing when to lay it off. If he can get that down, this offense is going to really take off next year. It returns like 8 or 9 starters. I mean, Elijah Moore, Kenny Oboa, and Royce Newman are gone. So it turns 8 starters. It's a huge spring for Matt Corral because what this offense can do next year could be special. Also at the quarterback position, this is also a huge spring for Luke Altmaier. He needs to be a sponge. He needs to absorb everything. Just get into the playbook, understand the offense, understand the intricacies. Watch Matt Corral for his ad-libs. See what's available. He needs to take advantage of this year. It's a huge spring for him, and the part of him being a sponge, the more he can do now, the less of that he has to do in the fall, and the more he can just see with his eyes and understand what's going on. Kind of watch the game as opposed to, well, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? And then there's Kincaid Dent, who was a dark horse last year. He's an athletic kid. He has a big arm. He might be the 2, possibly the 3. I'm not sure how that would work this year, but it's worth keeping an eye on. Big spring for him because he needs to, for his career progression, stay ahead of Luke Altmaier. Get the 2 this year. And that way, if you're the 2 going into this year, you have the lead going into next spring, next fall camp. If you are the 3 going into this fall camp, it's over because Luke Altmaier isn't going to relinquish it. But those are the things I'm looking forward to seeing from the quarterback position. It's like I said, it's not an 11-on-11 event. The people who look at spring practice through that lens, they're doing it incorrectly. It's basically, once we get to the fall and it is 11-on-11, it's a sum of the parts. Now is where you create the sum of those parts, those individual things. A get off that you saw last November, you can work on at wide receiver. Maybe you can work on your technique a little bit with body positioning when it comes to play a linebacker, and you're in good shape for the run to go up to do your fit, or you're available for pass coverage if that is needed. So it makes it a little bit easier. That's the type of stuff that spring practice is just phenomenal for. And also, underrated thing, this is the beginning of the kicking competition. And whether or not Caden Costa is there is irrelevant. The kicking competition kicks off now. there's going to be some kicking. Somebody has to do it. If you are solid, you can build a solid lead going into the fall. Again, the whole purpose of spring is to be number one going into the fall, to where it's easier to protect than it is to make up ground. That's the sole purpose for the depth chart during the spring. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably going to give you a couple minutes back here. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, check out the Rebel Walk. Fantastic free content for the Ole Miss fan. And we'll come back tomorrow with news from the first day of camp and probably some press conference stuff. So stick around for that, and we'll talk to you later.